وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وجاهد في سبيل الله حق جهاده. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. من كان يريد العاجلة عجلنا له فيها ما نشاء لمن نريد ثم جعلنا له جهنم يصلاها مذموما مدحورا ومن أراد الآخرة وسعى لها سعيها وهو مؤمن فأولئك كان سعيهم مشكورا. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: الطهور شطر الإيمان والحمد لله تملأ الميزان وسبحان الله والحمد لله تملأان وتملأ ما بين السماوات والأرض والصلاة نور والصدقة برهان والصبر ضياء والقرآن حجة لك أو عليك. كل الناس يغدو فبايع نفسه فمعتقها أو موبقها أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. All praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who through His infinite grace and mercy Allah has blessed us with the wealth of Iman, with the kalima La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. All of us, we were in Alam-e Arwah, in the realm of souls. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put a question to every soul that was in Alam-e Arwah: Alastu bi Rabbikum? Am I not your Rabb? And every soul at that time, today those souls are in different parts on the earth, in the form, in the body of different people. But at that time, in Alam-e Arwah, those same souls said, Qalu bala shahidna. We testify that you are our Rabb. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us into this world. We are on a journey. The soul is being transported from one place to another place. No, the soul is not going to stay in one place forever until it reaches its final abode. And it came into the womb of our mother, and then we came into this dunya for a temporary period of time, and then the soul will continue on its journey. Sometimes the soul might live just for a few seconds, or the soul might live with the body of someone for a long period of time on this earth, and then this person has to leave this world and we go in the grave. The minimum period a person will stay in the grave, the ulama say, is 40,000 years long. And then we will have to stand in front of Allah, the day of Qiyamah, the day of judgment. Every soul from Adam alayhi salam to the last baby to be born before Qiyamah will stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will question that soul. 50,000 years long, the day of Qiyamah. And every soul will be questioned on what they did in this world. In the grave, the ulama say, there will be three questions. Ma rabbuk, ma dinuk, man nabiyuk. But there will be no hisab in the grave. Why there will be no hisab in the grave? And there will be only hisab on the day of Qiyamah? Because in the grave, there is still possibility for a person that does a good action, his book of deeds might still stay open. That's why there cannot be hisab in the grave. Yes, what can be decided with surety in the grave is either a person died on Iman or Kufr. But if a person does a good deed, and that good deed is done by people on this earth, then he has passed away. But the reward of that good deed will continue until the day of Qiyamah. So hisab will only take place on the day of Qiyamah, when all the actions cease. Everything comes to an end. Everything has come to an end. Then on the day of Qiyamah, the decision will be made with three courts in front of Allah on the day of Qiyamah. The first court will be with regards to Iman and Kufr. Either a person died on Iman or a person died on Kufr. In this court, in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there will be no mercy. The second court that will be placed in front of Allah will be the court of the rights we owe to human beings, the rights we owe to our parents, the right we owe to our spouses, the rights we owe to our children, the rights we owe to our neighbors, the rights we owe to those people that we buy and sell and transact and interact with. They have rights upon us. Their rights will be determined. People will come forward and they'll say, أَكَلَ مَالَ هَذَا وَشَتَمَ هَذَا وَضَرَبَ هَذَا. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, a person will come in front of Allah on the day of Qiyamah, and he will come to another person and say, this person hit me, he stole money from me, he usurped my rights, he stole my land, he did this and that. And the good deeds of this person will be given to him. When all his good deeds are depleted, then this person's evil deeds will be placed on his shoulder. And instead of him going to Jannah, he can go to Jahannam. This will be the second court, the rights of people that we owe. In this court also there will be no mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There will be the third court in front of Allah on the day of Qiyamah. This third court will be based on the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will be the rights that we owe to Allah. In this court we will see the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many people might be forgiven through the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will be with regards to the rights we owe in the a'mal, in the ibadat, in the worship that we do unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Person was performing salah, but there was deficiency in his salah. A person gave zakah, but there was deficiency in his zakah. A person was fasting in the month of Ramadan, but there was deficiency in that fasting. A person went for Hajj, there was deficiency. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show mercy. This the day of judgment, will be 50,000 years long. When the decision will be made for a person that is successful, his book of deeds will be thrown to him from the front, and he'll receive it in his right hand. An angel will stand up and say, Inna fulan ibn fulan qad sa'ida sa'adatan la yashqa ba'dahu abada. Verily the son of so and so has attained salvation, he will never be a failure again. And the person that is a failure on the day of judgment, may Allah protect us, protect our families and our children until the day of Qiyamah. It's easy to speak about these things, but it's mentioned in the Quran and it is mentioned in the Hadith, and we believe in these things. That's why we have to make effort that we be protected from these difficult situations on the day of Qiyamah. That a person will get their book of deeds in their left hand. A person fails in this world. He failed, some situation comes in front of him. How many people have studied and became doctors in their countries? When they go to America or they go to another country, they have to write the exam and they fail those exams. How difficult it feels. They feel rejected in society. A person on the day of Qiyamah, if he fails this situation, the book of deeds will come in his left hand. وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِشِمَالِهِ فَيَقُولُ يَا لَيْتَنِي لَمْ أُوتَ كِتَابِيَهْ وَلَمْ أَدْرِ مَا حِسَابِيَهْ يَا لَيْتَهَا كَانَتِ الْقَاضِيَةَ مَا أَغْنَى عَنِّي مَالِيَهْ هَلَكَ عَنِّي سُلْطَانِيَهْ خُذُوهُ فَغُلُّوهُ ثُمَّ الْجَحِيمَ صَلُّوهُ. Allahu Akbar. Allah speaks about the difficulty of that person. On the day of Qiyamah, when he'll get his book of deeds, it will be thrown, and the book of deeds will come from behind him, and he'll receive it in his left hand. The angel will stand up and say, Inna fulan ibn fulan qad shaqiya shaqawatan la yas'ad ba'dahu abada. Verily so and so, the son of so and so, he has attained failure. He will never be successful again. The decision will come from Allah, and then the decision will be made. وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا. From there, the sun will be above a person's head, 1 mile above a person's head. Allah will speak directly to every single person. لَيْسَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهُ تَرْجُمَانٍ. There will not be any interpreter between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person comes to a foreign land, they need an interpreter. Someone needs to interpret the words that have been transmitted. what the person is saying. He says the person is saying this thing, and then he translates it for him, and he tells the person, then he speaks to the translator, and he says, no, between us and Allah, there'll be direct communication. لَيْسَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهُ تَرْجُمَانِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala हमारे साथ क़यामत के दिन बराए रास्त बात करेगा. Allah will speak to us. हम और अल्लाह के दरमियान कोई तर्जुमान नहीं होगा. There'll be no translator between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Direct communication. And then it will be the journey to go towards Jannah. Towards Jannah there is a bridge. There is a sirat over Jahannam. There is one sirat thinner than a hair, sharper than a blade, a journey of 1,500 years. At the bottom of that is the fire of Jahannam that is roaring, that is powerful. The Jahannam will be brought forward. 70,000 angels will be holding the chains of Jahannam, and they will be pulling Jahannam. The fire of Jahannam will be heated up. وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا. The reality is, every person will have to put their foot. Every person will have to put their foot on the sirat, on the bridge over Jahannam. Every single person. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is the time when he will want to stand up for his ummah. He will want to help his ummah. He'll want to protect his ummah. He'll want to see that how each ummati of his can be protected. How they can go over the sirat and over the bridge that is across Jahannam, because on the other side will be Jannah. وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا. There will be some people, because of their amal that were correct in this world, they lived their life righteously in this world. They lived their life in the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world. They lived their life in fulfilling the command of Allah and the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Otherwise, the hadith says, there will be certain people that will come in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the day of Qiyamah. They lived their life being and thinking that they're in the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but they were not practicing the sunnah. They were living out the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will tell them, suhqan suhqa. Get away, get away. Don't come close to me. Don't come. They were ummatis of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How will Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam recognize his ummah on the day of Qiyamah? غُرًّا مُحَجَّلِينَ مِنْ آثَارِ الْوُضُوءِ. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the speciality of this ummah is that we make wudu. The speciality of this ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that we make wudu, and because we make wudu, the limbs that we wash in wudu will be shining on the day of Qiyamah. They will be glowing. They will be illuminated. Like when you see amongst the horses, you see all the horses of the same color, and then you see one horse that the forehead is white. They're all black horses, and the forehead is white, and the hooves of the horse are white. All four legs are white. And this shows out from the other horses. In the same manner on the day of Qiyamah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will recognize his ummah. غُرًّا مُحَجَّلِينَ مِنْ آثَارِ الْوُضُوءِ. Because of those limbs of the body that a person washes in the time of wudu, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will recognize, this is my ummati. This is the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, compared to anyone else in this ummah. And these people will have to cross over Sirat, the bridge over Jahannam. It will be a long journey. For some people, because their actions were correct, they'll cross over with the speed of lightning. For some people, it will be slower, like a person is traveling on the speed of a horse. And for some people, unfortunately, there will be hooks, and these hooks will be thrown around to catch people and throw them into the fire of Jahannam. Whoever gets caught with any of these hooks, it will throw them and hurl them directly into the fire of Jahannam. Every person will have to cross over, and on the other side of this is where a person will enter into Jannah. To get into this Jannah, we have to make an effort in this world. To get a piece of Jannah, to get the property of Jannah, to get a house in Jannah, a person will have to live their life correctly in this world. Like how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught us how to live our life. To live our life according to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For 9 to 13 years in Makkah Mukarramah, the effort that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with when he got wahi and he came down from the mountain, the Ghar Hira, and he came to his wife Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, and he was saying to her, Zammiluni, Zammiluni, Dathiruni, Dathiruni. He was shaking and shivering. Allah had bestowed him with nubuwat, Allah had bestowed him with prophethood, and Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, she said those famous words that Allah will never destroy you. Allah will never destroy you, because she started recounting the qualities of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the beautiful sifat that what was prevalent in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took care of the people. He looked after the widows. He took care of the orphans. He would be a very beautiful host to the travelers that were passing by. Any person that was in need, he was willing to assist them and help them. She made mention of the beautiful qualities of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Allah will never destroy you. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said to her that I will give you the dawat. She said, you give me the dawat, and I will be the first person to accept the dawat. The wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Khadijatul Kubra radiyallahu ta'ala anha, from the first moment she heard the dawat, from the first moment she got the dawat from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she accepted the dawat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Husband and wife, they started the mission of dawat and tabligh from the first day in their home. What was the surroundings around them? What was the condition of Makkah Mukarramah? The people were worshipping idols. There were 360 idols in and around the Kaaba. The effort began from the first day. How this worship of the idols have to come to an end. The way Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam developed it through the medium of giving dawat in his entire life of 23 years being a Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not once did he break any idol. Not once did he physically go and break the idols. But the tartib was to break the idols that was inside the hearts of the people. And the medium of this was to give dawat towards the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To give dawat about the kibriyai of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To give dawat about the highness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The purity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Through the medium of dawat, the hearts became soft. Through the medium of dawat, the environment became conducive. Slowly people started coming into the fold of Islam. Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, she was also instrumental in giving dawat and calling people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like her, there were other women folk in Makkah Mukarramah. The women were also participating in the effort of dawat. From the beginning stage, they assisted in the effort of dawat towards people coming into the fold of Islam. That Fatima, the brother of Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala an, she also became a means of Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala coming into the fold of Islam. Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala an, also through the medium of a woman, she came into the fold of Islam. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala an, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives him dawat. He accepts Islam. That same day he comes with 6 people and brings them to accept Islam. The next day he brings 5 people, they accept Islam. Ali radiyallahu ta'ala an, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives him dawat. He comes into the fold of Islam. Like this, Islam starts spreading in Makkah Mukarramah. People start understanding the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The effort takes place, but the Quraysh cannot tolerate it. When dawat comes, it will be done with difficulty. People will not tolerate it. A person will have to give qurbani. A person will have to give sacrifice. A person will have to go under difficulty and hardship. And from the side of the disbelievers at that time, they did not leave any stone unturned. Besides that, they used it to cause harm to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and harm to the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum. Sharik radiyallahu ta'ala anha, a Sahabiya at that time, she was active in giving dawat. She used to go and invite people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She would go to the homes of the young Sahabiyat and she would invite them towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When her father found out, he locked her up in a room that she could not go out to give dawat. Situations came, conditions were against them. Yet after all the conditions were there, she tried to sneak out and she ran away. And as she was coming out, they caught her and they took her into the jungle. And her father said that they should leave her in the middle of the desert. They should leave her in the middle of the desert, that through the medium of hunger and through the medium of thirst, she can die in the middle of the desert. And someone takes her and they leave her in the middle of the desert. She wants some water to drink. They do not give her any water. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings a bucket of water that comes directly from the sky. Directly water comes to give the Sahabiya, and she drinks the water that comes directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When a person becomes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the intizam of the entire makhluk to be in the favor of that person. They came out and they made effort. They gave the dawat in Makkah Mukarramah. The situation was difficult. The situation was against them. The situation was challenging. And they made hijrah towards Habasha. When they made hijrah towards Habasha, the people of Habasha, they gave them place to stay. They took care of them. They took care of them in Habasha. And as they were in Habasha, they were going through the difficulty. The people in Makkah Mukarramah, those that went to Habasha, they were in peace. They were in security in Habasha. And what happened is the rumor went out. One day Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he was by the Kaaba, and the verses of the Quran were revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam with regards to وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى وَمَا يَنطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيُ يُوحَى. The surah was revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He was reciting the surah in salat near the Kaaba. The Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in, they were around Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to the end of the surah. There is a sajda that comes in the surah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he goes into sajda, the sajda tilawa that is in the surah, and he goes into sajda. As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam goes into sajda, the Sahaba that are with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they also go into sajda. When the Quraysh, the disbelievers in Makkah Mukarramah, they see Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam going into sajda, they also go into sajda. So all the Quraysh, the disbelievers, they are in sajda facing the Kaaba. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is in sajda, and those Muslims that are with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they are also in sajda. The rumor comes out from here. The rumor goes out from here that the people of Makkah have accepted Islam. This is how the rumor started, that the people of Makkah have accepted Islam. And the rumor goes about and reaches the Muslims in Habasha that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam had made an effort now in Makkah Mukarramah that all the Quraysh have accepted Islam. So the people of Habasha, the Muslims, they decide that they will return to Makkah Mukarramah. As they return to Makkah Mukarramah, the persecution continues in Makkah. There's a second hijrah that takes place. A second hijrah that takes place towards Habasha. They stay in Habasha, and many from amongst them did not come back to Makkah Mukarramah. They came directly to Medina Munawwara. In the 11th year of Nubuwwat, Rasulullah sallallahu performed 13 Hajj in Makkah Mukarramah. 13 Hajj in Makkah Mukarramah. These 13 Hajj were not the Hajj of Islam, but Rasulullah sallallahu performed this Hajj. It was the Hajj of Jahiliyyat, and he utilized the Mawsam of Hajj, the period of Hajj, so that he can go tent to tent and tribe to tribe. The Arabs would gather from all the different tribes, far and wide. They would come to Makkah. Rasulullah sallallahu would go to Uqad and all the different bazaars that would be set up. He would go to those marketplaces. He would go to the tribes. He would go to the people, and he would go and give them dawat. And one day he was giving one tribe dawat, and he was giving them dawat, and he was giving them dawat, until this boy says, I seen the sun come above the head of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and people were throwing sand in the Mubarak face. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam continued. People were walking behind him and saying, he's majnoon. he continued giving dawat. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to one tribe giving them dawat. The person, after he gave them dawat, he hit the back flank of the animal, the back portion of the animal. When he hit the back portion of the animal, the camel of Rasulullah ran, and Rasulullah fell down. He got injured. His clothing was dusty. His face was red, and Rasulullah was in a pitiable condition. And his daughter came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She was a very beautiful girl. Her name was Zainab radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked at his daughter Zainab radiyallahu ta'ala anha, and she said to her father, "Oh my father, why are you going through so much of disgrace? Why are you going through so much of difficulty? Why are you taking yourself to such heights that it's possible people want to kill you?" He said to his daughter Zainab radiyallahu ta'ala anha, and this is important for us to hear this, because we are living in the West. We are living in the part of the world that Muslims have not come here for many years. He said to Zainab radiyallahu ta'ala anha, his daughter, "Oh my daughter, oh my daughter, one day will come that this deen of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam will enter every baked and unbaked home." Some narration states, he said to his daughter, "Oh my daughter, one day will come. Can you see where the sun is going to set? Can you see where the sun is going to set? In the far west, one day is going to come that the deen of Islam will become alive there where the sun is going to set. This deen of Islam is going to come alive. The mission began 1400 years ago in the 11th year of Nubuwwat. One late night, 6 people from Medina Munawwara, they came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They put their hand in the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they took the bay'ah. This is known as the Bay'at Aqaba. This place until today there's a masjid in this place where the Bay'at Aqaba had taken place. The Sahaba that participated in the Bay'at Aqaba, they are more virtuous than the other Sahaba because of this bay'ah that they had taken place in the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 6 Sahaba from Medina Munawwara: Abu al-Haytham bin Tayyan, Ubadah bin Samit, Abdullah bin Rawaha, Asad bin Zurara, Sa'ad bin Rabi', Hassan bin Thabit, radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in. 6 Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum. Even there is variation of the names in different narrations. In Hayatul Sahaba, the narration is in detail. 6 Sahaba came and they took the bayat in the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The next year, the 12th year of Nubuwwat, in the Hajj, again 12 people came from Medina Munawwara. Some of the same people came, some different people came from Medina Munawwara. One late night in Mina, it was pitch black. 12 people came from Medina Munawwara. They put their hand in the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They said, "Oh Nabi of Allah, we want to take a bay'ah." 12 people in the 12th year of Nubuwwah. And they said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Send one person with us to Medina. Send one person with us to Medina." Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent Mus'ab bin Umair radiyallahu ta'ala an as the Muqri to teach the people of Medina Munawwara. Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala an, the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was there. Al-Bara bin Ma'rur is the narrator. He was also present at the time, a Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala said, "O people of Medina, do you know what you're getting yourself into? Do you know what you're getting yourself into? Becoming a Muslim and saying you're going to fulfill the command of Allah and you want to take deen to heart, it's going to be challenging. There will be halat. There will be difficulty that will come. There's possibility that the tribes of the Arabs will go against you. There's possibility war might take place. There's possibility of this halat and that halat." They said that we will give an answer to Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala an and make him satisfied that we are willing to accept and we want to take Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They said, "O Nabi of Allah, O Nabi of Allah, come to Medina. O Nabi of Allah, come to Medina. We'll help you. we'll assist you, we'll guide you, we'll be with you, we'll give our life for you. If you tell us to run our horses to Barqul Ghimad, we'll run our horses. If you tell us to run our horses off the mountains, we'll run our horses. If you tell us to run our horses in the oceans, we'll run our horses. If you tell us that to give our wealth in the path of Allah, it will be more beloved to us than we keep our wealth and spend it on our own selves. If you tell us to join ties with anyone, we'll join ties. If you tell us to sever ties with anyone, we'll sever ties. O Nabi of Allah, we would like you to come to Medina Munawwara. The next year, in the 13th year of Nubuwwat, Mus'ab bin Umair radiyallahu ta'ala an, after working in Medina Munawwara for 1 year, he brought 72 people. 72 people from Medina Munawwara who put their hand in the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 70 men and 2 women that came from Medina Munawwara, and they put their bay'at, the bay'at aqaba that took place that late night. And the next year Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this were the Ansar. The Ansar were being prepared. The people to make the nusrat of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was being prepared. The establishment of this deen is based on hijrat and based on nusrat. Both of them are important. Both of them are established. Hijrat was a great command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a very difficult task. That's why the Hijri calendar is established in the 16th year of Hijrah. When Abu Musa Ash'ari radiyallahu ta'ala got a letter from Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala an, he was commanded to do something. He did not know, was this month that he wrote is Muharram or Safar? Was it last year Muharram, this year Muharram, or the next year? Because the Islamic system had no dates. There was no number to the year. Just a major event that would take place in the year, they would name that year with that major event. So he said to Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala an, we should number the years like the other people have numbers to the years. Umar radiallahu anhu made a mashwara. The rai and the opinion came of different things. We should start the Islamic calendar on the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or on the nubuwwat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or at the time when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made Mi'raj, a miracle that took place, or at the time of the Fath Makkah, or at the time of Badr, or the demise of many rais came. And then Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala an, he asked the rai of Ali radiyallahu ta'ala an, and other Sahaba that gave the unanimous rai that the most difficult task was the hijrat. Hijrat was to leave the home, to leave their homes, to leave Makkah Mukarramah, to leave their families, to leave their businesses, to leave their near and dear ones, to leave their watan, the place they were born. It was difficult. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was making hijrah, there are ayat in the Quran that are Makki ayat. A Makki ayah is an ayat that was revealed before hijrah. And there's a Madani ayah. A Madani ayah was an ayat that was revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam after he made hijrah. It could also be revealed in Makkah Mukarramah, because after hijrah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to Makkah. He came to make Umrah. He came for Hajj. In Fatih Makkah, he came to Makkah. It's possible that the ayat was revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Makkah, but it will be known as a Madani ayah because it was revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam after he made hijrah. There was one ayah in the Quran. One ayat in the Quran, the Mufassirin say, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was making hijrah, he was going from Makkah to Medina. He went on the side road on the left-hand side close to the ocean. And then after some time, he came to the main road, the main highway. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he came to the main highway, he looked to the right. It was looking towards Makkah. And his heart poured out that this is my watan. This is Makkah. He left Makkah. وَإِذْ يَمْكُرُ بِكَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لِيُثْبِتُوكَ أَوْ يَقْتُلُوكَ أَوْ يُخْرِجُوكَ وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. Allah says they planned and they plotted. They wanted to kill Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They wanted to exile Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They wanted to kick him out of Makkah Mukarramah. They wanted to remove Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And what a painful heart. He had to make hijrah. He loved Makkah. When he was leaving, he was singing with regards to the mountains of Makkah. And he left Makkah. he came to the main road and he looked towards Mecca, and his heart was poured out that he was forced to leave Mecca. And he looked towards Medina, and one ayat of the Quran was revealed. إِنَّ الَّذِي فَرَضَ عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ لَرَادُّكَ إِلَى مَعَادٍ. This ayat of the Quran, the Mufassirin say, is the ayat that's not a Madani ayat, it's not a Makki ayat. The speciality of this ayat is not revealed before Hijrat, nor is it revealed after Hijrat. It was revealed at the time when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came on that main road. And the pain was, he was kicked out of his town. But the Ansar were in Medina Munawwara. When he came to Medina, that's why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave the virtue of the Ansar. Either we be Muhajirin, or either we be Ansar. There were only these two groups amongst the Sahaba. Either we make Hijrat, or either our homes and our life and our family and our money and our ability is to make the nusrat of those that are striving in the path of Allah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Ansar was such. Abdul Rahman bin Auf came to Medina Munawwara. There was a Ansari in Medina. He said that I can give you this, I can give you that. Look at the willingness of the Ansar to spend everything on the Muhajirin. But look at the Muhajirin, they istighna. They said, no, just show me the direction towards the marketplace, and I will go to the marketplace. He started buying and selling and buying and selling and buying and selling. And that evening he did enough business. He had a yellow mark, he got married without even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam knowing. And he made himself istighna. The Muhajirin made hijrat. The Ansar were ready to spend everything on the Muhajirin. That Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam became so happy with the Ansar. He got so happy with the Ansar. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, everyone is like my outer garment, and the Ansar are like my inner garment. The garment that is close to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to become the Ansarullah, to become the helpers of the deen of Allah. Once there was an argument amongst the people. The Ansar was saying, Ya lal Ansar. The Muhajirin was saying, Ya lal Muhajirin. And they started calling out the old shouts and the old calling of Jahiliyat. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam called the Ansar. He put them in the tent. He started speaking to them. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to the Ansar, he said, if everybody goes in one valley and the Ansar go in one valley, I will go in the valley of the Ansar. I will go in the valley of the Ansar. If I was not from amongst the Muhajirin, I would have been from amongst the Ansar. Then he said to the Ansar, because he loved the Ansar, they were people that gave Rasulullah some place when everyone kicked him out, when everyone did not want him, when all the tribes were not interested in the deen. The Ansar accepted Rasulullah. They opened their homes. Like you people, mashallah, here in Ireland, the Jamaat has come and made hijrat, and how the people are treating the Jamaat and willing to give their life, willing to give their homes, willing to give their things for the establishment of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make the nusrat of the deen of Allah. We are only from two parts. Rasulullah said, Wallah, forgive the Ansar. Oh Allah, forgive the Ansar, and forgive the children of the Ansar, and forgive the children of the children of the Ansar. And he said, either we from amongst the Ansar, either we from amongst the Muhajirin, or we from amongst the Ansar. That Allah loves the Ansar. Allah loves the Ansar. The quality of a true believer is that he will love the Ansar. They sacrificed everything for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from amongst those people that either we make hijrat in the path of Allah, we strive in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're willing to leave our homes, we're willing to leave our families, and we strive in the path of Allah, or we be from amongst the Ansar. And both of them are required. We are both required, because we cannot be striving all the time. We are required to strive every 3 months to go for 3 days, every year to go for 10 days, every 3 years to go for 40 days. This is in Masturat. And for the men to spend their time in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the time that we are at home, we become the Ansarullah. We become the helpers of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we take the virtue to become from amongst the Ansar. So sometimes you will be from amongst the Muhajirin, and sometimes you will be from amongst the Ansar. And when this two came into effect, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the winds of Hidayat blow. Hidayat came into effect. Hidayat started spreading far and wide. Medina became the markas of Hidayat. People from different tribes and different places, they came to Medina Munawwara, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it that Hidayat spread. Through the medium of the Muhajirin making Hijrat and the Ansar making Nusrat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened up the winds of Hidayat. The doors of Hidayat opened, and thousands of people started coming into the fold of Islam. After a short period of time, Fath Makkah takes place. Fath Makkah was one of the difficult parts before that took place, where the conditions were against the Muslims. And a year, 2 years later, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he comes to Fath Makkah. He leaves Medina Munawwara. 10,000 Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'een. They come to Makkah Mukarramah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is riding his camel, and he puts his neck onto the neck of the camel, and he enters Makkah Mukarramah. People from amongst the Muslims were saying, Al-yawmu yawmul malhama. Al-yawmu yawmul malhama. Today is the day we will make the people into mince meat. We will make the people into pieces. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam heard this, and it took effect. And he said, no, Al-yawmu yawmul marhama. Al-yawmu yawmul marhama. Al-yawmu yawmul marhama. We are an ummah to show mercy to people. We are an ummah that has been chosen for the mercy of mankind. If a person does not have mercy in his heart, he cannot make the dua of Hidayat. We do not hate any person. We do not hate any nation. We do not hate any people. We are here for the love and the mercy of mankind, to save each person from the fire of Jahannam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was coming through the mountain pass. As he was coming through the mountain pass, the uncle of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala an, he was standing with Abu Sufyan, and he was looking at Abu Sufyan, and the tribe of so and so had their flag up. He said, what do I have to do with this tribe? And what do I have to do with this tribe and this tribe? Abbas said, no, they have accepted Islam. They have accepted Islam. They have accepted Islam. So Abu Sufyan said, the kingdom of Muhammad has grown very large. The kingdom of Muhammad has grown very large. The kingdom of Muhammad has grown very large. Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu said, this is not kingdom. This is not kingdom. This is nubuwat. This is prophethood. This is not kingdom. This is nubuwat. You see, this whole effort is not a person has to become a leader and he wants to become a king. This is actually a fikr and a concern for mankind to be safe from the fire of Jahannam. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he entered Makkah Mukarramah, all the people that were against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave them amnesty, and he said, whoever goes into the haram will be safe. Whoever goes in their homes will be safe. Whoever does this will be safe. Whoever goes under the protection of so and so will be safe. The Sahaba came to the masjid, the haram in Makkah Mukarramah. 10,000 of them entered the haram. 10,000 of them. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told, everybody was waiting. It was the time of Salah. Who was going to give the adhan? It was a sharaf and an honor for someone to go up and give the adhan. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he called Bilal radiyallahu ta'ala an. He called Bilal radiyallahu ta'ala an, and he told Bilal radiyallahu ta'ala an, oh Bilal, go on top of the Kaaba and give the adhan. Bilal radiyallahu ta'ala an, he went, and he went to give the adhan. The Quraysh in Makkah Mukarramah, they could not tolerate it. It was difficult for them to see an Abyssinian slave, whose father was a slave, whose mother had the taint of slavery, and now he got the sharaf and the honor. The dignity is given to him, that Bilal radiyallahu ta'ala an, is he going to give the adhan? And many from amongst the Quraysh, leaders of the Quraysh, Usayd bin Abil Is, and Abu al-Harith, and Sufyan, Abu Sufyan, and many others, they made very nasty comments against Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu giving the adhan and the honor that Islam gave him. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam went to perform the salat, and he went forward, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam made the takbir, and as he said Allahu Akbar, all the Quraysh, they were watching. They were sitting on the mountain tops around the haram, and they were looking at the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and the Sahaba, and the sufuf were made, the safs were made. Imagine, they were jahil people, ignorant people, people that were living in the desert, and they could not believe what beautiful formality had taken place, and the sufuf in a perfect order, and the imam right in the front. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the first takbir, Allahu Akbar, 10,000 from amongst the Sahaba made the takbir, Allahu Akbar. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam recited, and when he went into ruku, this penetrated into the hearts of these kuffar. He went in ruku, on his one movement, on his one takbir of saying Allahu Akbar, 10,000 of them went into ruku. 10,000 Sahaba made ruku at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They could not understand that there is such a high level of obedience to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ita'at of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of the highest level ever possible. It was beyond their imagination. It pierced into their hearts that how can a nation get a leader in such perfection, that 10,000 of them will follow on one simple takbir. And he came up from ruku, 10,000 of them came up, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went in sajda. The ulama say, this practice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that disbelievers witnessed with their naked eyes while they were sitting on the mountain tops around Makkah Mukarramah, this was the means of them coming into the fold of Islam. This is how they came into the fold of Islam. This is what penetrated into their hearts. They could not believe such obedience and such ita'at. After the salat, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he called those three people. And he said, you said this against Bilal. You said this against Bilal. And you said this against Bilal radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. They had nasty comments to say against Bilal radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. These people were Arabs. They thought that this world is only with them, and everyone besides them were Ajam. And especially they hated slaves, and they hated the Abyssinian slaves. It was part of their culture, Arab culture of Jahiliyyat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verse to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakari wa untha, وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. There is no virtue of any human being because of the color of their skin. There is no virtue of any human being because of the amount of money they got. There is no virtue of any human being because of the country they live in. There is no virtue of any human being because of the amount of things they own, because of the business they own, because of the shop they own, because of the university degree they have, because of the amount of children they have, because of the language we speak. Someone speaks English and somebody else does not. This has no virtue in the sight of Allah to make mankind's heart clear and perfect until the day of Qiyamah. That a African person, a Habashi person, a slave does not have virtue over a free person. An Arab does not have virtue over a non-Arab. The virtue of a human being. Until the day of Qiyamah. إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن ذَكَرٍ وَأُنثَى وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. Yes, there are different colors. There are different languages. There are different tribes. It's just to recognize one another. لِتَعَارَفُوا is just to recognize who is there. What's the background of a person? They're from this part of the earth. They come from this place. It has no virtue in the sight of Allah. Until the day of Qiyamah, the principle was put down on this earth. إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. When Rasulullah ﷺ, this verse was revealed, he called Bilal radiallahu ta'ala an, and because of Bilal radiallahu ta'ala an, this verse was revealed to give him the sharaf and the honor that although he was an Abyssinian slave, his virtue and honor is above every person that does not have the fear of Allah. That does not have the fear of Allah. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. The virtue of a human being is because with their relationship and their fear with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Deen spread like this with the effort of the Muhajirin and the Ansar. Then came the Hajj of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. At the end of the Hajj of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he gave 2 khutbahs. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave 2 khutbahs. Both of the khutbahs are exact the same. You see people in their homes, they hang it on the wall. The farewell sermon of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He gave 1 khutbah in Arafat, and he gave 1 khutbah in Mina. Both khutbahs are exact the same wording, with slight little difference. The first khutbah he gave, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was speaking, and as he was speaking, there were people that were transmitting the voice and echoing the voice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The voice did not reach everyone. The voice did not reach everyone. And he was speaking and someone was saying the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and someone was saying the words until it reached all the tents. But between that night, the Friday night and the Saturday, the verse of the Quran was revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the complete surah, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. And the ayat was revealed, الْيَوْمَ أَكْمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي وَرَضِيتُ لَكُمُ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا. That this deen has been completed, the ni'mat of Allah has been perfected, and there's only one deen that Allah is happy with until the day of Qiyamah, and that is the deen of Islam. And when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave the second khutbah, he began the second khutbah with one difference by saying, عَسَىٰ أَلَّا تَلْقَانِي بَعْدَ عَامِي هَذَا. There's a great possibility next year you will not see me. There's a great possibility. Why he said this? Because of Surah Nasr, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. There's a slight indication that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is going to make parda from this world. And in the second khutbah, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave, the voice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam miraculously reached each and every person in Mina, every tribe, every tent, every person, male and female that was there. The voice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached them. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked this one question, Ala hal ballaght? Did I fulfill the responsibility of tabligh? Then every person replied to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, بلغت الرسالة وأديت الأمانة ونصحت الأمة وكشفت الغمة وجاهدت في سبيل الله حق جهادي. O Nabi of Allah, you fulfill the amanat, you fulfill the responsibility of tabligh. He pointed with his index finger towards the sky and he said, Allahumma ashhad, Allahumma ashhad, Allahumma ashhad. Oh Allah, you bear testimony. Oh Allah, you bear testimony. Oh Allah, you bear testimony. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the ulama say it was the first time of the history of men on earth that a Nabi passed on the responsibility of prophethood to his entire ummah. His entire ummah the first time, and his entire ummah heard it directly from the Nabi's mouth, directly. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the amanat risalat, that trust that was given to the prophets, that trust will now be passed on from the shoulders of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to each and every ummati of his ummah. فَلْيُبَلِّغِ الشَّاهِدِ مِنْكُمُ الْغَائِبِ. That everyone that is present has to take this message to every person that is absent. And the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala an, that 124,000 Sahaba on the plains of Mina understood the mission. They understood the taqaza. They understood what was the desire, that they need to strive in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And true to their word, understanding this, they strove in the path of Allah. They loved Medina Munawwara. They loved the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They knew in Mecca we'll get 100,000 rewards. They knew in Medina we'll get thousands of rewards of performing salah. They were willing to leave the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They strove in the path of Allah, far and wide, to different parts on this earth, and made deen come alive. From the 124,000 Sahaba, less than 15,000 graves of Sahaba are in Hijaz and Muqaddas. The other 110,000 Sahaba, their graves are all over the world, far and wide. They went for the objective of the propagation of the deen of Allah, for the promulgation of the deen of Allah, how i'la'i kalimatillah can take place, how the name of Allah can be elevated in the four corners of the world. They went in the path of Allah, far and wide, in a short period of time. Wallah, if we do this work of deen, if we strive in the path of Allah, Allah's promise is Allah will throw this dunya to our feet. Allah will throw this dunya in a means that it is humiliated. It will have no value. Some people think if we do this work of deen, we'll have no money. We won't have this, we won't have that. Look at the life of Sahaba. They strove in the path of Allah. Ulama say if they lived in Medina and did not strive, their condition would have never come right. By them striving in the dunya-wise, by them striving in the path of Allah, Allah even rectified their dunya. Allah made them multi-billionaires, gave them the Roman and the Persian Empire thrown to their feet. That thousands and thousands, some narrations go up by stating 30 trillion gold coins were in Medina Munawwara. The Roman and Persian Empire to their feet. The most valuable item in the world at that time, the crown of Kisra, brought to Medina Munawwara. Everything in their proposal, everything in their disposal, all the wealth of the world, in such a condition that this world had no value to Sahaba. Allah made them the rulers of the world. In Africa, they went to all the countries. Allah gave them this dunya also. Allah gave them deen. And Allah made the entire kainat musakhar. Allah made the entire kainat musakhar. The fire became musakhar. The lava became musakhar. The animals became subservient. In the time of Umar bin Khattab, Amr bin As wrote a letter with regards to the river Nile, that they would do an evil practice. He wrote 2 letters back. One letter to Amr bin As, and the second letter he wrote it directly to the river Nile. Min Amir al-Mu'mineen, Umar ibn al-Khattab, ila Nili Misr. From Umar bin Khattab, the Amir al-Mu'mineen, he wrote the letter directly to the river Nile. Today a man writes a letter to his own son. His son does not listen. Such power they had. Allah made the kainat musakhar. One Sahabi was caught. He was imprisoned. They said, we will not give you water so that you can make wudu. He said, my Allah will provide for me water. He turned his attention to Allah. Allah brought a cloud. It started raining directly on top of that Sahabi, that he could make wudu. Allah made the kainat musakhar. Safina radiallahu ta'ala an, he went into the desert. He went into the jungles of Africa. He said, I'm the Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm lost for my Jamaat. I want somebody to come forward to take me to the Jamaat. A lion comes. He jumps on the back of the lion and he rides the lion until he reaches the Jamaat. When the lion has to separate from him, فَجَعَلَ يُوَدِّعُهُ, the lion starts shaking its tail in a manner that is separating and sad to separate from the Sahabi. Allah made the kainat musakhar. The entire kainat became musakhar. The things around became musakhar for Sahaba. Allah, when they made the effort of deen, Allah will not deprive a person. We have the responsibility to have this fikr and worry, to strive in the path of Allah, to become a muhajir, to strive in the path of Allah. And when we are at home, to become an ansar. We have 2 responsibilities. From amongst the Sahaba, they were the muhajirin, and they were the ansar, those that strove, and those that were making the nusrat of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to become from amongst the muhajirin, and we have to become from amongst the ansar. These were the 2 categories of Sahaba. وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ, and those that follow them. They follow the tartib of the muhajirin, and they follow the tartib of the ansar. For this, we have to make sacrifice and strive in the path of Allah. We are special ummat. We are selected ummat. We are chosen ummat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have the fikr of deen in our heart. How the deen of Allah can come alive. How mankind can be saved from the fire of Jahannam. How each person can be on the doorstep of Jannah. We have a responsibility. We are chosen and selected by Allah. Unfortunately, our elders say the situation is such. Majority of this ummat bhool gaye. Our elders say hum bhool gaye. और हम भूल गए कि हम भूल गए. We forgot who we are and we forgot what is our responsibility. Nasyam mansiya. People forgot who we are, what's our job, and a person is taking honor with the things around him. He forgot he got the greatest responsibility, that we are da'i ilallah. We are inviters towards Allah, not affected with anything around us. Either a person is a da'i or is a mad'u. Either he's giving da'wat or he's going to be affected with somebody else or something giving him da'wat. A da'i does not go with the river. He does not go with the flow of the river. He does not go against the flow of the river. The da'i changes the direction of the river. This is our responsibility. Our elders say, Asal mein marte marte karna hai aur karte karte marna hai. We have to do this work and do this work until we die. And then our Amir Sahib used to say so beautifully, now when a person is old and is paining and his body is paining and he has to go to this problem and that problem, marte marte karna hai. When a person is going through difficulty, even at that stage we have to do this work, that Allah take us where we far away from our homes. One day we have to die. All of us have to leave this world. What a great honor it is for that person that leaves this world while they far away from their home. Striving in the path of Allah, moving in the path of Allah, in the far and wide, in some part of the earth. Sahaba had only two groups amongst them. مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ رِجَالٌ صَدَقُوا مَا عَاهَدُوا اللَّهَ عَلَيْهِ فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ قَضَى نَحْبَهُ وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَنْتَظِرُ. Sahaba had only two groups, those that gave their life and those that were waiting to give their life. Actually, we are here to save mankind as a mercy to mankind, how people can be saved from the fire of Jahannam. This is our actual job, our actual work, to strive in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for this, inshallah, tashkil can take place. See how the sisters, how jamaats can come out in the path of Allah. Nakat jamaat. We have to look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ut bande kamar kya dharta hai, fir dekh khuda kya karta hai. When a person stands up without having any reliance on himself, no reliance on his wealth and his abilities, and he sees how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens the means. A man doesn't have anything. We can't do anything. But when Allah opens it, man wanted to go, the king wanted to come visit a person who was living in a jompri. He was living in a shack. The king he was thinking, the king is coming to me, how I'm going to entertain the king? The king said, don't worry, when I come, I will bring my castle with me. He will bring, is the king coming. When Allah wants to take someone, Allah opens the means. We have to actually get ourselves accepted. When a man gets himself accepted, Allah opens everything. Don't look at our means. Don't look at our things. Don't look at what we have. We have to look at the treasure of Allah and strive in the path of Allah. Allah will open the system. Allah will open the means. And we have to make intention for our children. For our children, that they have to be in the path of Allah. Our children are not here to make us rich and to get jobs and to do things. Our children have to be those that are the flag bearers of Iman and Islam. Da'i ilallah at every condition. Look at how we can have our children in these countries that we are living, that how they can stand up for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, striving in the four corners of the world. Allah given us to live in this part of the world to become a means, inshallah, to strive in the whole alam. People are waiting all over the world. They're waiting, they're looking for peace. They're looking for sukoon. They're looking for itminan. They're looking here and there. They're looking at beautiful things. They're going for vacations. People are trying to travel. They're looking for sukoon. They're buying items. People now have pierced their entire bodies. Not first was only earrings, and then now they're piercing their eyebrows and they're piercing their nose and their tongue. They're looking for sukoon. People are tattooing their body. They're doing ajib things beyond imagination. They're looking for sukoon. They're looking for something. They're looking for something pure, but they just cannot find it. They cannot find it. Good human beings. الناس معادن كمعادن الذهب والفضة. People are like mines, gold and silver mines. They just need to be mined. When you take them out, you'll see how they will shine and how people will benefit with good qualities. And we have that. We need to go to the people. We have to become the source of mercy, that mankind can be saved from the fire of Jahannam. So inshallah, tashkil can take place. And after the tashkil, inshallah, we make dua and then we make tashkil, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen. نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. يا أحد الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. We say Jazakumullah khair to the host, the people that have hosted our Jamaat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala